Hello. So today, I'm officially starting my in-depth Akuma guide. I will go over the basics, to the extremely specific stuff, to the hard stuff. I will try to let you know everything you need to know about this character. This first part is an introduction. It is really for beginner Akuma players to really realize what the character's about and to see if that is something they really want to get into. Because Akuma is more than just flashy combos and spiky red hair. And I'll go over his strengths and his weaknesses so you can make sure Akuma is the right character for you. Alright, so let's get started with his strengths. Okay, so first off, I'm gonna start with what he's most known for, which is he's got very strong combos. Alright, I'll try to give you a quick example there. Alright. And that might look like a lot, right? But that was actually pretty basic. Requires some execution, of course, but pretty basic. So let's move on to his block punishment. Unfortunately, you will need a basic understanding of frames to get what I'm about to say. But basically, if something is unsafe, Akuma most likely gets a full combo off of it instead of just a strong punisher, because he has a 10 frame punish. 10 frame is generally the fastest a move can come out, and with meter, which is that blue thing at the bottom left, he can get a full combo, and he's actually got a few options for that. He's also got that for 12 frame, he's also got that for while standing 13 frame, got that for 15, and even without meter, he gets a combo at 14 and 16, right? So he punishes very well. And even without meter, right? This is his fastest punisher. That does chunks. That does big chunks. So, quick recap: flashy combos with high damage, good punishment with high damage. You might be noticing a theme here. This character is high damage, but he is high risk. So yeah, now we're going to talk about another way you can access that damage. I've talked about block punishment. Now I'm going to talk about counter hits. So, does he have good counter hits? The answer is yes. He has a 10 frame counter hit launcher. The difference between that and his block punisher that is 10 frame is that you can confirm that, so you don't have to use the meter if you don't want to. You don't need to just throw it out and hope it hits. And 10 frame is the fastest really you can counter hit someone realistically, unless you're playing Yoshi. Usually some characters like Law, Lee, they have an 11 frame counter hit. Akuma has a 10 frame counter hit. So yeah, that is very good. Now, he also has that on the down jab, same thing, confirmable. You get the advantage of high crushing, but it's not quite as safe as that one. But get into that another time. He's also got 2 counter hit homing moves, one high, one mid. The mid kind of slow, but it's got good range. So counter hit launches, and actually down 3. For those of you who already kind of know Akuma, you know that doesn't work at every range. But if it's a counter hit, it actually does. So that is also worth noting in his counter hit tools. And the last one is Demon Flip 3. Yeah. So he doesn't really have counter hit properties that aren't launchers. I'm not really going to complain about that. Because, you know, it's better if it's a launcher. And yeah, so he's got good counter hits. Okay, since we just talked about his counter hits, let's talk about his ability to keep out. right? Because if he interrupts your opponent coming in, that's a counter hit. But he has other ways of keeping out the opponent. He has his famous focus attack, which is, you know, cancelable. But if they run into it, this is what happens. And this isn't an unblockable if fully charged, but realistically, that's not why it's good. This is why it's good. It is a power crush that gives you a full combo, which is pretty good. Not everything you absorb will give you a full combo, but that is keeping them out from doing moves like running freeze or stuff like that, which give a big advantage. So they are going to be scared to come in. And if they're scared of coming in, they're going to be moving away from you. They're going to be going away. So what are your options to limit their movement? So we already talked about the counter hits, the counter hit homing moves. Use them as regular homing moves, not necessarily counter hits. But he also has a third option to limit the opponent's movements. And that is down 4. This is by far his most important move. Because naturally in Tekken, you are not blocking low. Right? So this crushes highs, hits low, and is near homing. It is not quite homing. But when they get hit by it, it is a hard knockdown. What that means is they cannot tech from that. They have to choose how to get up. Which means you can run up, and now you're in. And since Akuma is quite the offensive character, that is what you want. Like I said, if they're running away, if it's on the sides, you got homing moves. Sorry, that one. You can use standing 4 and 4-3, but they can duck that on reaction. So I recommend it in specific situations, but yeah. And you have down 4, your main move. They fall on the floor, you dash up, they can't run away from that. So that's how you limit your opponent's movement. Now let's talk about Akuma's range. He doesn't actually have a bad range, but his movement is really what limits his moves from going very far. Now he's got a decent down forward one, like the range is okay on it, but he has this move. This should be your main mid poke. This is safe, it's got good frames. On block it's not too bad, on hit it's great. This in conjunction with what I just showed you to limit your opponent's movement will be your main option. But we're talking about range right now. So back 2's got amazing range. So yeah, he doesn't actually struggle from hitting the opponent from far away. It's just that he does not get much for it. Like some characters have very long range launchers. Akuma just can poke you from that range, which is fairly good enough for his game plan. Okay, while we're on the topic of range, jumping will also cover quite the distance. Even if it is quite slow, you can hit from quite far away, right? That is the regular jump and the demon flip. Okay, now you just heard me talk about demon flip. Now, what is demon flip? That is a stance. You should think of it as a stance. It's a stance where he jumps. You can do it by doing forward, down, down, forward, into one of the kicks. Depending on which one you do, the trajectory will be different. See, one goes high and not very far, one goes far, and it's a bit faster, but it doesn't go as high. So he is technically a stance character. He has a few options out of it. One's for safety, one's homing, 2 of them are launchers, and one's an unbreakable grab that the opponent has to duck. And again, he's got a launching mid as well. So I think you can kind of imagine if they stay up, they can get an unblockable grab, have eaten, and if they try to duck it, they can get launched. So you can imagine that stance being pretty good. It's kind of slow, but there are ways to make your opponent respect it. Now, Demon Flip should not be confused with his regular jump. Like, all Tekken characters can jump, like so. That's how Tekken characters jump. They got short hops, they got long jumps, but yeah, that's not how Akuma jumps. He does like a front flip and a back flip. Now, that is a lot better, because not only does he jump faster, so you can evade low attacks quicker, he actually has different moves than the generic toolset Tekken characters get. He gets access mostly to these two. I'll just quickly show the others, because why not? Yeah. There. That's every jump option from the regular jump. I will go more in depth, but basically, all of this, in one way or another, is going to be a launcher, apart from the single hardo. And all of that, or most of that, the main way you're going to use it is actually plus on block. Let me show you. It is a launcher that puts you in an advantageous situation. So that's pretty good. So Akuma is considered one of the slippery characters with evasiveness. He doesn't really do that by crushing, he does that by straight up evading the moves. Oh, I forgot one quick thing. He does have long range launchers if you count the jumps, but these are really slow. That is easily reactable. Like I said, from the demon flip he does get the mix up, but yeah, I don't count that as long range launchers. So like I said, let's move on to his game plan. His game plan is either to land one of the counter hits by frustrating the opponents, which you can do by poking them out, just jumping at them, just being generally annoying until they either counter a jab or counter a down jab, or the main thing you'll be looking for, which is down 3. The reason you want to limit your opponent's movement is so you can be close enough to this. You see how it says coup direct on the left? That means that is clean hit in English. If you're at that range, you can land a hardo or a tatsu. Alright. And what that means is you have a fast, 15 frames is considered fast, unreactable, low launcher. Like I said, your opponents will be mostly standing up in Tekken, and if you have meter, that is a 4 combo off of an invisible low. Your main plan, basically the whole goal of Akuma's offense is to eventually land a down 3. Right? But down 3, like I said, is an amazing move. On counter hit, at range, you'll get the combo anyway, and if you're close enough, you'll get the combo. Let's say they block it. You might go, oh, it's minus 14. But no, because you can cancel it. You actually have the advantage. Wasting a bar for that is actually your loss, but technically you are in an advantageous position. Right? But that is the whole game plan. You want this to land. That's why you have such good mids, such good jumping options, to make your opponent stay up so that you can do this. Okay, so what if the opponent doesn't stay up and they actually stay on the ground? Well, you get something called okizeme, which usually we say oki, but it's ground game, right? What happens if they stay on the ground, if they get up, the mind game that comes from those situations. And Akuma has amazing oki, one of the best in the game, right? So let me show you a quick example. If you do this and they tech, you get a 50-50, right? Because you can either do the mid or the low, and both of these options, as long as you have meter for the low, will be launchers. If you don't have meter for the low, you literally do the situation again, right? That is if they tech, of course. Now what happens if the opponent doesn't tech? Okay, so if your opponent stays on the ground, there's a few things you can do. One, let's just go for another down 4. Especially if you see them stay on the ground and then side roll, you can actually react to the side roll, and the down 4 will be guaranteed. I'm not gonna go over everything he has for Oki. This is an overview video. The Oki will come in a separate video. But yeah, I'm gonna just show you one wacky option, just so you see how fun he can be. He can do this. That's fun. But now let's move on to his wall Oki, because ground game changes at the wall. Does he have good wall Oki? Yes, he does. It's even better than his regular Oki, because he can do stuff like this and literally restart the mix-up. Because if they tech from that, they get put in the mix-up again, and you can wall splat them without using a bar. So yeah, you have great options to hit them on the ground if they get up, and depending on how they get up, you have different options that are very dangerous and can be relatively safe if you use meter. So yeah, great Oki. Now I want to talk about something that's very specific to Akuma, which I call fear. Right? People fear Akuma because even though he can be very high risk, he is extremely high reward. Like I said, he's got very fast launchers, very fast counter hit launchers. But more importantly, also very evasive, before I forget. But also, he has this, the infamous EXDP. The fact that you have EXDP means you are extra slippery. It's not just the jumps for evading, it's not just the counter hits. You can literally mess with their frames and they will have to make the decision to not attack you. And the fact that sometimes it's going to be when you're on the floor Tekken, sometimes it's when you're at a high disadvantage, the opponent will just let you get up, let you get out of that situation, just because they are scared of this option. And that is I count that as one of his biggest strengths. The opponent is kind of forced to be safe because the smallest things that are normally safe on any other character are not necessarily safe on Akuma. It is a big risk on your part, but they have to keep that in mind. And yeah, invincible move, quite big damage. The last thing I want to count in his strengths is just going to be the fact that he can cancel things with bar, right? Like, I've gone through it a few times, but I will explain exactly the mechanics of how this works, but I'm going to make a recap at the end, and I want this to be in it, so, you know. FADC, focus attack, dash cancelling, which is what you're actually doing when you do stuff like this, and stuff like that. I count that as a plus. He has meter that he can use, and only 2 other characters have it. They all use it differently, and Akuma uses it in the best way. Because not only does he have the X moves, like the XDP, which are enhanced versions of his moves, he can cancel the normal versions of his moves for added safety, added damage, added options, which makes him a very versatile character. So yeah, that about wraps up the strengths. Let's move on to the weaknesses. Okay, so that was a lot of strengths, but I'm gonna go over the weaknesses. The most obvious one is that he requires pretty insane execution. They have alleviated that a little bit in Season 4, but the high execution stuff is still the best stuff, and you still need to use it to optimize the character. Because you've seen me do this kind of combo all the way through the video. If you don't know the input for that, I'm gonna quickly go over it. You do down 3, and while the move comes out, you have to do a quarter circle forward and a punch. And while you do that, you have to do 1+2, which will do a focus attack. The moment it does a focus attack, you have to input a dash. So 1 plus 2, forward, forward. At the right time, you have to go from forward, forward to back 1. And when you do the back 1, you have to do the demon flip. So back 1, down, down, forward, and to a kick. You have to do that very quickly, right? Because you have to input the demon flip while the back 1, and you have to do that in a quick succession. And even after you hit that, there is specific timing to hit the free to get the actual combo and the tailspin. If you do it too late, I'll try to get it. You get this. If you don't press at all, you get this. If you do it too early, you get this. So there is a lot of inputs, very fast, with timing-based execution. Akuma is not an easy character to play. That is one of his weaknesses. Usually when people try to say Akuma is so broken, they try to say, oh, but execution is not a factor. I don't like to use it as an excuse for what Akuma's strengths are, but it is definitely a factor. Next up, we have his poor movement. His stepping is very sluggish, it doesn't go very far, it doesn't move very fast. His backdash is okay, but a lot of characters cover more distance more quickly. His forward dash is alright though, but yeah, he has poor movement, which means there's a lot of stuff that he cannot evade with conventional means. Like I said, Akuma's a very slippery character, he's got invincible moves, can jump over stuff. But all of that is technically risks, and there's some situations where if he wants to evade something, he has to take a risk. He doesn't have the option of evading it like other characters. You'll get a bigger reward if you evade those things usually, but normally characters don't have to take a risk, right? That's me moving with Akuma, right? You can see it's sluggish, he doesn't go very fast. I'll move a bit with Kasumi, right? Like, that's Kasumi moving, right? Like, you can see she is moving faster, she's lighter on her feet, and that does make a big difference. Next, we have he's got some kind of bad frames on his classic pokes. His generic down forward 1 on block is actually -4. A good down forward 1 is normally -1. -2 is okay, but yeah, -3. They considered Katarina a dead character when it was -3. Akuma's is -4. There are plenty of good reasons for it. Like, if he had a -1 down forward 1, he would genuinely be broken. But you cannot use this as well as other down forward 1s. You risk getting counter hit. Right? Usually with good down forward 1s, if you do down forward 1 into a jab, you will beat your opponent's down forward 1. Not with Akuma. If you do down forward 1 into a jab and they down forward 1 back, you will lose that exchange, which isn't great, right? But one of the reasons it's -4 is because he has an extension. He has a high extension, which is just an extra poke. He's got a mid. Right? Let's let her get hit by that. The mid leaves you very close on a +7, which is really good, and the high leaves you a +6, which is quite good. Not very close to your opponent, unfortunately, but it does decent damage. The problem is they conduct that, and this is -13. Some characters launch you, and some characters hurt you a lot if you just commit to that. So you don't want to get carried away. Like, one of the important things is don't get carried away by the extensions. Try to do just one, but just one does not have great frames. Forward 3, it's great on hit, but on block it's again -4. You have the same problem. Another interesting one is this. This is -9. It's +1 on hit, -9 on block. So he does have a 12 frame mid poke, right? Which is not everyone has that, but it's got terrible frames and bad range. Right? So yeah, his fast pokes have kind of bad frames. That is a big minus. One of his weaknesses is that he encourages a risky playstyle. Like I keep telling you, down 4 is so important, but it is very launch punishable. Like that is minus 27. You can pretty much do anything if you block that. Yeah, not great. Down 3 Tatsu, I keep telling you down 3 Tatsu is great. Down 3 Tatsu, if they duck it, it's minus 32, and on block it's minus 15. Let's say you don't cancel a Hado, minus 14. Very risky. When he jumps, you're always risking being floated, right? You get floated a lot. Like, floated is less damage than a launcher, right? Because they don't do a launcher, they just do the combo without the main launcher. But they can get you to the wall very easily. They can get Oki after a lot of their combos for some characters. He generally encourages you to be risky. Again, he does get great reward, but he does not have the safety. So to get back to his bad movement, one of his main weaknesses is that his main launcher, like I said in his strengths, is down 3. And down 3 is only a launcher if you are stuck to your opponent. So you will struggle to beat characters with good movement. You need players with good movement more than anything, but characters and players with good movement will be a burden because you will have to take risks to stop them moving. And if they don't stop moving, you never get your main move. And with the jumps, Tatsu is kind of slow, but it does track. But it doesn't have great frames like step 4. But if you want to get those step 4s, right, save plus on block launchers, that just loses to a step. Right, great move, but easily steppable. So yeah, good movement. Like if you're the kind of player that gets annoyed at Zafina, Akuma will not help you with that, right, at all. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I just talked about how down 3 is so important and good movement it sort of beats it. That is one of his weaknesses in a way. Down 3 is an amazing move. His game plan revolves around something that's great, but it is very narrow-minded. You are looking for just this one thing, which can really be a detriment to you. Because your opponent knows what you want. And you have to be very creative to get around that. Like I said, he does have tools to not only do that, but none of them are really as good. So you do have to be very careful, very, very careful not to be too narrow-minded. And last bit about the low, since it's down 4, down 3, that is some of his most important moves. Even if you do back 4 to change up the timing, he revolves so much more on lows than other characters, which means he's more vulnerable to being low parried. Just in case you don't know what a low parry is, I will show you quickly. That's a low parry. Like, meaning that even if down 3 Hardo is plus on block or whatever, right? Like when you do this, and if you actually get it to be blocked, it's plus, you can just eat a combo. And that is a universal mechanic that every character has. But since you are more focused on your lows, it will happen to you more. And again, it's the same as getting floated. Not a full combo, but you lose positioning, you lose a lot of health, and you get put in a bad situation. Lastly, I would like to touch on some inconsistencies in his punishment. I cannot show you every example right now. I will try to show many more in the punishment video, but there are some inconsistencies in what he can punish. Like when he actually gets the punisher, like I said, he gets amazing damage for a lot of things. But there are a lot of situations. Can I get it on Kasumi? Let me try. There, you can get stuff like that happen, where you don't actually connect with your punishers. EX Tatsu alleviates that a lot, right? But if you try to go for the DP, sometimes you whiff, you get launched. I've done, sorry, not this. I've done 2 into the red fireball, which is a natural combo. And the 2s hit, I was close to my opponent, and the red fireball was on block, therefore I didn't get the combo. That also happens on certain characters, when punishing some things near the wall. Like, you are spending a resource and that's not good. So sometimes its punishment, although it's very rewarding, it can be relatively inconsistent, and I have to count that as a weakness. Like I said, I'll show more examples of that in a separate video. So that about wraps up the weaknesses. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick recap, but let me first off say that I don't think his weaknesses weigh out his strengths. Now, he is a top tier character. I know that, you know that, everyone knows that. Is he broken? I don't think so, especially not in Season 4. But he is an amazing character, and clearly those weaknesses do not outweigh the strengths. I'm going to put on screen right now a little recap of what we just saw. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and thanks for watching. There will be many more, way more in-depth Akuma videos coming very soon. So, you know, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and yeah, goodbye.